Hey, friends. Hope the morning's treating you well. Hope you got your coffee if you want some. I got mine. It's getting a little bit cold, but it is really, really freaking cold here in Indianapolis. It's 8 below zero. It sounds like I live next to the highway outside. The wind is blowing so much. And I've stepped outside a couple times, and it's just ridiculous. And today is Wendell's birthday, my dog. He's 2 years old today. Tried to take him out a couple times. He'll go out for about 90 seconds, and then he's completely done with it and wants to come back in, and I don't blame him. But I wanted to talk a little bit about George Jones. He owned a club here in Indianapolis back in 1978, and nobody ever talks about it. So I figured maybe I would. I was talking to my buddy Dale Lawrence the other day. He's from a band called the Vulgar Boatmen, my all-time favorite band from Indiana. You guys should look them up if you don't know about them. They're great. But Dale mentioned that George Jones owned a club in Indy, and I'm like, that's right, man. You know, I should look into that and find out more about it. So I spent a little bit of time going through old newspaper archives trying to find any mention of it and see what the story was. I should say beforehand, George had a place called Possum Holler in Nashville that was down on Lower Broadway, and apparently it was across the street from Ernest Tubb Records and right next to Tootsie's. And I'll be honest with you, 12 years I lived in Nashville, I tried to avoid downtown because it was just a lot of tourists and wasn't a good scene. So I don't remember exactly what was next to Tootsie's outside of maybe Roberts, but Roberts would have been Showbud back then. And I'm thinking maybe it's Layla's Bluegrass Inn. Maybe it was in that spot. But most of downtown, or a lot of Lower Broad, was owned by Roy Acuff at the time. And he owned the building Possum Holler was in. Possum Holler, George's place, was upstairs, and the Roy Acuff Museum was downstairs. And at one point, George's Possum Holler had a toilet back up, and it came down and it went down and ruined one of the exhibits down below. And Roy Acuff was thinking, well, I can't have this. And so since he had the lease, he just told George nicely, man, I'm just going to have that empty up there and not have anything because I don't want any more of my stuff ruined. I think the way he said it was, it wouldn't be good, George, me having turds in the Roy Acuff collection. So Roy had him move out of there, and I think George started a place in Printer's Alley. But he started reaching out, George did, opening up new places, and one of them was in Indianapolis, in Speedway, which is on the west side of Indianapolis. It's where the Indianapolis 500 is held. It's where the track is there. And very working class area. And in 1978, I can imagine what Speedway was like. It would have been, maybe that's why they chose to put a country music bar there to begin with. But I looked up, and the first mention of this I could find in the newspapers was an article. It says Possum Holler premiering in Speedway. Excuse me. It says by Cecil Redman. It says, you might say the cat is out of the bag. George Jones Possum Holler is opening on the premises of the now defunct Peppermint Tiger 2001 Disco in the Speedway Shopping Center. What could possibly go wrong? Under new ownership and management, the club will feature the whole range of country music, according to spokesman Tommy Redman. This sounds like in the Blues Brothers, where they say we play both kinds of music. They're at Bob's Country Bunker, country and western. That's what this sounds like to me. It says, club will feature the whole range of country music. We'll have everything from country folk to country rock to contemporary country music with artists such as, and get this lineup they're promising, Farron Young, Johnny Paycheck, Pure Prairie League, the Oak Ridge Boys, Emmylou Harris, Johnny Rodriguez, Doc Watson, Jerry Jeff Walker, Commander Cody, Waylon Jennings, Kenny Rogers, Merle Haggard, and the Charlie Daniels Band. That's a hell of a promise for a place that I think held around 400 or 500 people. That's a pretty That's some pretty highfalutin promises. But it says premiering acts. The premiering acts will be Ron Mabry with a 7-piece band this week and next. And I don't think I've ever met Ron Mabry, but when I look, and I don't think I'd heard of him. I feel kind of bad about that. But when I look up in these newspaper articles, he's everywhere playing around town. He's obviously a guy working his ass off playing music, and seemed like he had it going on in 1978. And also says Jeannie Seeley and Jack Green will play there. And then it goes on to say that the big grand opening will be a 2-night stand with Jerry Lee Lewis. That's a pretty good opening right there. That's pretty good. In 1978. So if this works out right, you'll be seeing the ad for opening night with Jerry Lee Lewis right here. I hope that works. But it says, come celebrate our grand opening, June 16th and June 17th, the Jerry Lee Lewis Show. Here hits, great balls of fire, a whole lot of shaking going on, 2 shows nightly. The finest in country music, 6 nights a week. Possum Holler says, it was at 5650 Crawfordsville Road. If you're in Indianapolis or if you come through, that's they've tore down where this was and built another ugly strip mall right there. It's what we do. And but if you look at where the Eyeglass World is in the parking lot, and I think there's a Bank of America, there's a bank right next to the Eyeglass World. I think that those two right there would have been where Possum Holler was. And anyway, when you think of playing music in, like I said earlier, Speedway in 1978, I don't know, those lineups sound amazing, and I would love to go, but man, I don't know. It would have been quite the experience to be amongst the crowd. And I found a letter to the editor here that speaks to that. And before I say what it is, there was a band called the Wright Brothers who played this place like every week. It seemed like they were a house band for a time. Really great band. And I always heard of the Wright Brothers, and a lot of people loved them. And I'd met one of them, Tim Wright, a couple times through my buddy Dean Metcalf. Really great guy, really talented guy. And I reached out to Dean. Remember Dean? We did the episode with, had a couple guitars. I did a couple episodes with producer of the Bob and Tom Show. Love Dean. And I'm like, hey, man, you think Tim, will share some stories about this? He's like, I don't know. So I reached out. We'll see what happens. But the Wright Brothers would play there a couple times. And to give you an idea of what this place might have been like, I remember I read a review that I'm not going to share here because there's not enough to it, from the Indianapolis Star with Zach Duncan. I'm sorry, I'm getting all over the place here. Zach Duncan was our music editor in the Indianapolis Star. He had a column called Rock Pile. Really great stuff, and I read him religiously when I was a kid. I was really into it. So when Bob Seger came through, or Dylan or whoever, he would be writing about it. And he went to opening night and wrote about it just being, said Jerry Lee was really good, but the place was hard to breathe, no airflow, smoky, and just everything you would think it might be. And it didn't sound like the greatest place if you read between the lines of his column. But this is a letter to the editor in 1978 to the Indianapolis Star. It says, on the evening of November 24th at George Jones' Possum Holler in Speedway, the Wright Brothers, considered amongst the finest in the entertainment business, attempted to hold a concert. Unfortunately, among the many Wright Brothers devotees attending there were a very small number of empty-headed rednecks who were permitted to destroy the performance. That's pretty damn good. That rolls right off the tongue. It's kind of poetry. It says, as the management stood idly by, these rednecks inundated these fine musicians with a sickening torrent of filth and insults. No wonder things in our society erupt into violence of inexplicable proportions when those in charge allow greed and cowardice to govern their actions. That is SGP from Columbus, Indiana. And as letters to the editors go with righteous indignation, that's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. And I read that about 3 times back and forth, and I sat there trying to figure out whether I would absolutely love this person or want to just dislike this person or want to stay away. And I'm not honestly sure, but I know there's no in between. There's no in between, but that's a damn good letter to the editor. And it's a nice snapshot of what the place might have been. It wasn't a listening room. And there were probably a lot of people that got drunk and came over after work. And there's also a, if you look right here, if all goes well, I'll put up a thing that shows that Fair and Young at Possum Holler at Speedway, Indiana, in person, July 15th, where national recording artists and top name entertainment perform. And down at the bottom, it says, coming soon, Joe Stampley, Asleep at the Wheel, and Johnny Rodriguez. It sounds pretty good. I don't know if those happened or not. And as I looked, there was a lot of people that were promised. I could not find any record of the Oak Ridge Boys playing this little smoky place in Speedway. Weren't the Oak Ridge Boys kind of on top of the world in 78? And, Waylon was kind of on fire in 78, I think. Would he be playing a small place in Speedway, Indiana? I forget who else. I don't know if Emmylou Harris played there. There was a lot of people promised. It does sound like the sort of place Johnny Paycheck would have played, but I couldn't find any record of him being there. That doesn't mean that any of these might have all happened, and I just couldn't find them. But it appears there was a lot of promises made that I'm not sure were delivered upon. But in December of 78, there was a article, or just a little paragraph printed in the Star. It says, George Jones, the former husband of Tammy Wynette, who filed for bankruptcy last week in Nashville, is the owner of the Possum Holler nightclub on Crawfordsville Road. Jones, a country singer, has debts of $1.5 million. And about this same time, there was an article written in a newspaper in Ohio. So the owners of Possum Holler in Ohio somewhere, I can't remember where, were suing George Jones. I believe it said for $10 million because he no-showed a gig. And I'm wondering, and they said that it will do irreparable harm to their business going forward. I'm guessing since they opened up a place and called it Possum Holler with George Jones' blessing, and then he no-shows a gig there, they're thinking that's pretty bad for future business, which I think they're probably right. I don't know about $10 million, but so they were suing him. He also opened up a place across the river from St. Louis somewhere in Illinois, and there was another place in South Carolina. And it sounds like these places weren't doing that great. But in January of 1979, this is just 6 months after opening, the very last mention I could find of Possum Holler, the George Jones venue in Indianapolis or in Speedway, it said that we don't have the list. We don't know who's playing Possum Holler this week or if they're even open still. Something to the effect of they might be out of business because nobody's answering the phone. And that was the last mention. Now, Ron Mabry, the guy I mentioned earlier who was in the house band there, he continued playing on as Ron Mabry and the Possum Holler Band for quite a while and did a lot of different gigs elsewhere in Indianapolis. So I guess he carried that on, but that was the last mention I could find. And I do want to say, if I can open this up here, as I go off on a little bit of a sidetrack, when I'm looking at the newspaper articles, sometimes you scroll down and you can see the listings for what's going on in town right then. Some pretty cool things happening in Indianapolis in 1978. So it's 1978, and Bruce Springsteen is playing in town, at which is pretty damn amazing to think about, seeing Springsteen in '78 over at Beef and Boards Dinner Theater, which is not a huge place. You have dinner and you watch a show. Duke Ellington, Guy Lombardo's Royal Canadians, the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra, Buddy Rich, Woody Woodbury, Tammy Wynette. Oh, here's a listing for the Oak Ridge Boys. They must not have been able to get them at but that's a smaller place than I would have expected the Oak Ridge Boys to play. And Donna Fargo is also playing there. This is all in the second half of 1978. And let's see what else we see. There's movie listings at the Emerson Theater on East 10th Street in Indianapolis. That's where I saw Star Wars. And I saw, with my dad, I went and saw American Graffiti at the Emerson Theater. The Goodbye Girl was playing there, and Jeremiah Johnson. And that's two great movies. I love The Goodbye Girl, but Jeremiah Johnson, man, my dad would watch that over and over and over again. And I bought it for him on VHS back when VHS was a thing, just because he loved watching it, and then he could just put it in there. So that brings back good memories. Did you guys see either one of those? But keep looking. Oh, in the Emerson Theater, it later became an all-ages venue, and there were all kinds of touring punk rock and hardcore and metal bands that came and played through there. And I mean, a lot of my friends played there, probably when they were 17 or 19 years old. And went and saw a lot of stuff. I saw a few things there. It was never really my scene, but I played there once, an acoustic thing to open up a multi-band thing, just so I could say I played at the Emerson Theater. And I went, and the kids were kind of like, whatever. I played about 25 minutes acoustic, and some of them enjoyed it. A lot of them didn't, but I did it. It felt good to be able to play that. And so I also look around, and the Emerson, I guess, has reopened here recently under new ownership. So it's a kind of a legendary venue here in Indianapolis. Also, Saturday Night Fever is playing at the Arlington Theater, and the Arlington Theater is where I saw Convoy and a lot of other things. And the Arlington Theater later became a music venue also. And I saw Soundgarden there. God, there's so many people that played there. I saw the Black Crowes. This is probably held about 800 or 1,000 people, something like that. And it was all ages. Saw a lot of different people. And then now it's a hardware store. I go in there every now and then and get stuff. Hardware store. That's how life goes. But Saturday Night Fever was playing there then. Grease is playing in, where's that at? At the Eastwood. Jaws 2, Godzilla on Monster Island. I'm sure I probably tried to go see that. The Omen 2. I get a kick out of looking and seeing what was happening around town. Jim Neighbors with special guest star Susan Anton and the New Neighbors kids. Where are they at? Is that at Starlight Musicals? I think that was at Butler. Jim Neighbors, who wasn't from Indy, but he always had a strong Indy connection since he would always sing something at the Indy 500. I've never been a race fan, so I don't really remember that other than it was a thing. But anyway, going off on a sidetrack there. I know you guys enjoy that. Did anybody here, this is a long shot, anybody here ever been to one of George Jones's Possum Holler places? It's just a couple of years later, he stopped loving her today, was cut and came out, and it rescued him from a lot of problems. And he got onto some better days, I guess, definitely financially. But did you guys ever go? What was it like? I'd like to find a couple pictures of the inside of the one here in Indy and just see what it looked like. But this will be an ongoing thing that I keep checking into. I'm going to take a drink of coffee here. I should have started out by saying happy holidays and stuff, and I forgot. I'm thinking it's I'm thinking it's Wendell's birthday, and it's actually Christmas, Christmas Eve or whatever. Depends on when you're watching this. But I hope you guys are having a good one. If you're alone, don't feel alone because you're hanging out with me and just going down some rabbit holes with me. I'm going to show you. Did you guys remember the Johnny Cash's first interview? When I interviewed Aaron Allen, I published that a couple weeks ago. Aaron Allen was a songwriter, and my buddy Adam Carroll contacted me maybe 8 years ago. I don't remember when. And he's like, hey, man, this guy named Aaron Allen here. Adam was friends with him. If you don't know about Adam Carroll, you need to look up some of his music right now. He's really, really great. Look up Oklahoma Gypsy Shuffler, Errol's song, The Girl with the Dirty Hair. So many great Adam songs. I'm like leaving out a bunch of them, but look him up. He's really great. But Adam said, man, there's a guy here in Texas, in Luling, Texas, who he's the first guy that ever interviewed Johnny Cash. And he worked at a radio station. He was a DJ at some place in San Antonio. One of his DJ gigs, one of his radio gigs, is when he quit, Willie Nelson took over that gig. But he interviewed Johnny Cash. And I went down. I drove to Luling, Texas. And I believe I went all the way there in the car. And when I got out of the car at his house in Luling from Nashville, I'd been in, 10 or 12 hour drive. And I was really loopy, and I had to walk in and start interviewing him. And I felt a little bit froggy. And it took a little while to get it going. After about 15 minutes, I started catching up. But I recorded that interview. And he had some pretty cool stories. Some stuff I've never published, but I published some of it when he passed away a few weeks ago. And it turns out he was buddies with Todd Snyder, and he helped Todd. Todd tells a great stage story about seeing somebody. He went to I'm going to butcher this story. Todd tells this story really, really well. Todd Snyder does. But he's just first started playing, Todd Snyder did. He goes to an open stage somewhere in Texas. And the idea is you play a song you wrote. So he's waiting for his chance, and everybody's playing their songs. And he starts playing. Some guy gets up and starts playing a Willie Nelson song. He's like, that's not fair. What the hell's this guy doing? So when the guy's done, Todd goes over and starts giving him crap. He's like, what? That's a Willie Nelson song. What are you doing? And the guy is Aaron Allen, and he says, actually, I wrote that song, and Willie Nelson recorded it. And then Todd was like, I didn't even know that was possible, and then he starts asking him, teach me what you're doing, because whatever you're doing is cool. Can you show me some of that? And Aaron Allen helped him. It's a really nice stage story when Todd tells it. But anyway, I went there and interviewed him, and I'm glad that I did. It was really, some of the times these interviews are really freaking hard to make happen. But when you're in the room hearing the stories, it's just really great. And I really, really enjoy it and dig it. But I'm glad I made that one happen. Aaron Allen passed away a little bit ago. Now, there's hardly any mention of him online anywhere. He's, I don't know, just never was online, didn't live his life online. He was 88 years old when I did that interview, and there's just not a lot of mentions. So I'm looking for whatever. And I get on eBay, he made records. There's a Kickstarter that they put together to raise money. I think Adam was part of that, Adam Carroll, to raise money to put out one of his records so he could record and all that. But I couldn't find any of them. CD, they made something, and I just haven't seen it surface yet, so I haven't heard it. But I did see there were 45s. There were 345s for sale, and I bought them of Aaron Allen. And it's now the person that sold these to me were in Luling, Texas. So I'm not sure. This is on Pick Records, the first one, produced by Jim Foster, All American by Aaron Allen, distributed by Rustic Records, 38 Music Square, East Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know. You guys know anything about any of this? It was Pick Records. I don't know if you can see any of that. But so there's All American. On the other side is Back in the Shadows Again. That's by Russ Allen, Ron Berman, and Don Miller. Now, I don't have my turntable is messed up, so I haven't been able to listen to these yet, but I will. And so here's another one. So that one was on Pick Records, PIC Records. There's two others that are on Double A Records, which that has to be him, Aaron Allen. He called himself Double A. That has to be Aaron. Like, he must have put him out himself. And it says Double A Records, 311 East Davis Street, Luling, Texas. Charlie Fitch Music, BMI. The song is called, it says Aaron and Norma Jean Allen. It says Everybody Sing Amazing Grace by Aaron Allen. And on the other side, Dispenser Machines by Aaron Allen and Charlie Fitch. And show you a little bit of that. I don't know if you can see that at all. Sorry if it doesn't show up. And then the third one, it has an RCA sleeve, but it's not RCA. And it's the same deal. Double A Records, 311 East Davis Street, Luling. Song is Double Hook by Aaron Allen, BMI, and Sing Her Your Song, Willie, by Mariel and Aaron Allen. I'm not sure who Mariel is, but each one of these says a Charlie Fitch production, which I'm guessing Charlie Fitch recorded this maybe. I'm looking forward to hearing it because I think it might be a little bit homemade. It's the idea of self-released 45s, and these look like they might be 70s, like 1970s or 80s. That's pretty cool to me. I'm kind of excited about seeing that, but I bought them. They were all three of them from the same sale, and they were $2 each. So I'm not a collector. I'm not very good at. Oh, Malcolm's coming over. My buddy Malcolm, my roommate Malcolm, is coming across my dirty desk, and he's, hey, there he is. Hey, buddy, say hi to the people. Say hi, Malcolm. Oh, yeah. Come on, buddy. Oh, Malcolm wants to come up and say hey. Say hi to the people. Oh, he's going to bite me. Malcolm. Come on, buddy. There you go. Sorry about that, folks. Malcolm does what he wants when he wants. He's kind of like that. But anyway, I'm not a collector, but I went ahead and bought those. And if there's somebody in his family that's out there and you don't have copies of those and you want them, I could send them along to you. I thought about giving those to Todd Snyder. I just think that Todd might be even less of a collector than me. I don't know if he would be the person to take care of it or not. But anyway, I got them put away in a nice, safe place for now. And I'm looking forward to getting my turntable fixed so I can listen to them. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're spending the holidays doing whatever it is that you want to do. I'm lucky. I'm spending the holidays doing what I want to do, which is nothing. Trying not to do much of anything. And I've enjoyed sharing stuff with you guys over the last year. And I don't know, it's good being able to put positive things out into the world and positive things coming back. It's a nice feeling. And I might try to go outside and start the car just to make sure it starts in a day or two when I need it to, because there's no break from this weather for a while. And actually, that reminds me of when I was a kid. It was kind of an informal tradition, is we'd go ice fishing on Christmas Day. I'd go with my Uncle Mike, and we'd go ice fishing, and somewhere close by in Indianapolis. And for years, like not since the 80s, there's no ice on Christmas. And it's kind of weird that right now there'd be ice. It's so cold right now. This is the first time I can remember since the 80s. There might have been a couple times, but when I was a kid, there was always plenty of ice on Christmas Day in central Indiana. And it makes me want to go ice fishing. But I got rid of all my gear years ago. Actually, when I moved to Nashville, there's no ice fishing in Nashville. But I don't know, maybe one of my buddies will check in and I'll give that a try. But it's awful damn cold, though. The idea of sitting out on a block of ice right now that's not a really cool thing that I'm looking forward to. I think I'll actually sit inside and play with Wendell on his birthday. And, maybe we'll go for a walk or something like that. But I hope you guys are having a good Christmas time. I could tell you some stories, Christmas stories. Maybe you've heard them all before, so I won't. But if you want to hear my Christmas album, you can listen in. I'll put a link down in the comments or something. I uploaded it last week. All Christmas songs I wrote, except for one Woody Guthrie song. As if there weren't enough crappy Christmas songs in the world, I wrote more and threw them on the pile. You can listen to them for one day and then not worry about it till next year. And maybe I'll link up that Aaron Allen interview right here so you can see that. And you can listen to Aaron Allen. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys soon. Happy holidays and much love to you.